Dino Vidala Show on Sirius XM's Progress.
And welcome back to the Dino Vidala Show. We're live Tuesday, August 6th. So that was Bernie Sanders. That was live. That wasn't pre-tape. That was the only time we could do the very top of the show. I was happy to have him on, talk about the issues. And again, we are committed to trying to get every single candidate on. Either I go to them, like we went to Liz Warren in New Hampshire, or go to conferences and have them on, or have them call in or in studio like we had Seth Moulton last week and Tom Steyer and others in the past. We've had, who else? We had John Delaney. We've had Andrew Yang. So we're trying to get them all. We're trying. Senator Harris, I can tell you today, again, pleading with Senator Harris's comms people. And Mayor Buttigieg, I mean, every single one, I can assure you, we are plugging away. We want to bring them to you here live. So let's talk about the news of the day. And I want to hear from you because there's still some developing news with the El Paso shooting. One is, of course, Donald Trump's going to go there, but more from a legal point of view, we found out new news because I was wondering how the white supremacist terrorist in El Paso was caught. Like, did they stumble on him? Did they surround him and not shoot him? It turns out he turned himself in to a motorcycle police who was not doing anything, part of this investigation, and he said, I'm the guy that did this shooting. And again, that's not the act of an insane person. You know, Donald Trump wants to make it about mental illness, and that's completely incorrect. White supremacists are cold-blooded, they're calculated. Can some be mentally ill? Perhaps, yes, that's life. But mentally ill people are not more likely to commit acts of violence. In fact, people with severe mental illness are 10 times more likely to be the victim of violence than to commit it. And you can find that statistic on Donald Trump administration's mentalhealth.gov. I mean, that's a known statistic. So for Trump to even suggest that mental illness is part of these shootings, there can be some, but it's, again, ginning up hate. There's no need for it. This is, though, something that I think is what it really boils down to. I mean, I want to get at the essence of what we're facing in this country right here. And we know it. And I think there are people on the right playing games now, and we'll touch on that as well about what's going on. But, you know, we learned today Toni Morrison died. She died yesterday, but it was released today. She's Nobel Prize winning writer and Pulitzer Prize winning writer. And she had a quote that I like this quote. She said, in this country, American means white. Everybody else has to hyphenate. Let me repeat that. In this country, American means white. Everybody else has to hyphenate. And for many, many Americans, people of color subscribe to that as well, because that's how we feel, that we're viewed as less than American, that we're proving our Americanness all the time, and that for many people on the right, that's what American means. I can't tell you how many times when I've said to people, I'm Arab American or even Italian American, they go, no, you're supposed to be American American. And it's because I look white to them. So that's what it's about. What this is about white supremacy. This is the idea of whiteness in the country. In America, race is known as a social construct, meaning our skin colors mean nothing in a vacuum. In America, white means something. In America, black means something. It means different if you're in a majority nation of color. If you're black born in Africa and someone else is white, it's a different life experience than here. So it's very unique. Our understanding of race is very unique. And I know that firsthand going to the Middle East constantly for comedy shows over the years, where our understanding of race is far different than theirs. And there's a famous African-American historian, Nell Irvin Painter, who said, race is an idea, not a fact. And Ta-Nehisi Coates put it this way. He said, when a liberal says race is a social construct, he's not being a soft-headed dolt. He is speaking an historical truth. You know, James Baldwin, in a famous essay on being white and other lies, and I encourage everyone, if you haven't read it, to read it. He said, no one was white before he or she came to America. He said, when Italians, Poles, Irish first came to America as immigrants, they were not part of the white America. But then, as he talks about, each group paid a price of the ticket. He calls it the price of the ticket to become white. And in Baldwin's view, that price was subjugating blacks, as well as, quote, slaughtering the cattle, torching the houses, massacring Native Americans, and raping black women, close quote. That was James Baldwin on what it means to be white. How do you earn your whiteness in this country? And that's one view. Another is Nell Irvin Painter, in her book, The History of White People, had a different view. And this to me is really interesting. And I'm not dismissing James Baldwin's. I think there's something there, of course. But this, from Nell Irvin Painter's book, makes me think of today's world. And it's all just intersected with Toni Morrison's comment. She talked about white people in America in the late 1880s were very opposed to handing out white cards to immigrants from Western Europe, countries like Germany and Ireland, the ones who are very white now. But at that time, the nativists who lived here, the Native Americans, and they don't mean Native Americans instead of Native American Indians. We're talking about the ones who lived here for 100 years and thought this was their country and had driven Native Americans out. Those white people did not want to give white cards and accept Irish and German into their world of whiteness, and especially not Italians. My ancestors were olive skinned. What changed their mind? Why did they accept them? Because they did over time. Why did they finally accept them? White supremacy. And what I mean is, this is literally in her book, and it's a great statistic here. After the census of 1880, they found native-born white people were having less children than immigrants. So self-survival caused the nativists to accept the European immigrants into their world of whiteness to ensure white supremacy, literally demographically white supremacy. That's why they did it. And that's what we're fighting now. That's what we're facing right now. We're facing a demographic threat. And at that time in 1880s, the nativist white people, like the Trump of their day, didn't try to drive out other people. They couldn't drive the immigrants out. They tried to. They hated them. But after a while, they're like, okay, we're going to lose this fight. Let's accept more of them into the club, make them white. And of course, Jim Crow emerged just not too many years before this. That's how they did it. That's how they created whiteness. How do we create whiteness today? How do they continue with this? How do you band together even people who are of some of them of backgrounds that you would say you're not actually white, but they're part of the Trump world? Well, you unite them. You create a whiteness for them. They become part of the white world. They get a white card by doing their own, going back to James Baldwin, subjugating others. And here's one example from Trump rally. This 12 seconds from a few weeks ago sums it up, because that crowd, while primarily white, there were some brown people there and some black people who are chanting along with this, going along with Trump, because they are paying the ticket to become white in this country. And here's the chant, clip number 1.
Screens.
That chant is part of paying your ticket to become white. Now, for some of them in that crowd, they are white. For some, they're not. To the eye, they're not, but they're part of it. And to be part of this white nativist cult, you've got to pay your price. And this is their ticket. They're horrible things. And now Trump's going to go back tomorrow to El Paso. Literally the scene of the crime. Literally the scene of a terrorist attack carried out by a man who was mimicking and parodying the words of Donald Trump. And I want to play some clips for you from not over the last year and a half, not the last 3 years, not when he comes down the escalators. We all know those clips. I just want to play a few clips from the last time Donald Trump was in El Paso, Texas, the place where this terrorist attack happened. He was there in February. He had a rally. The very same time, Beto O'Rourke led a rally of people who were standing up, and the name of their rally was those opposed to racism and hatred. And here's just some of the clips, and listen to the words at this rally in Texas. And I have no doubt the white supremacist terrorist who killed 22 people also heard these words in the Texas media because he's from Texas. Here's first him talking about, as he calls, illegal aliens and the crimes they commit. Clip number 2.
Some Democrats even proposed a measure that would force the release of thousands of criminal illegal aliens, including dangerous felons convicted of rape, sex trafficking, violent assault, and even murder into our country. Can you believe this? Their proposal would put a hard cap on the number of illegal aliens that our brave ICE officers, we love our ICE officers, can detain and thus remove, forcing thousands of criminals to be set free into United States communities. I don't think so.
Thousands of criminals to be set free in the United States of America. Thousands of Hispanic. That's what he's getting at. And I try never to play Trump clips, but I have to play 2 more here because I want you to hear the words that the white supremacist terrorist and the next terrorist are hearing of Donald Trump. Because we just see little clips of invasion and invaders. Here's more. Here's Donald Trump. Listen to this one very carefully. Donald Trump talks about the statistics of crime. Listen how he talks about the word murder and keeps repeating it. And he's, of course, associating that with, not subtly, directly, with us. He keeps calling them illegal aliens. Listen to these words and think about if you're someone who's already concerned about undocumented immigrants coming here, Hispanic immigrants coming here, and you're in Texas, and you hear these words, and you hear the man who's the president of the United States of America just in February, standing up in front of thousands of cheering fans, saying this. Let's hear clip 3.
In the last 2 years alone, ICE officers have made listen to these numbers, 266,000 arrests of criminal aliens, including those charged or convicted of approximately 100,000 assaults, 40,000 larcenies, 30,000 sex crimes, 25,000 burglaries, 12,000 vehicle thefts, 11,000 robberies, 4,000 kidnappings, and 4,000 murders, killings, murders. We will.
We didn't edit that. That's really how it said. Murders, killings, murders. Listen to Donald Trump. Listen to the words he's saying about people coming to our country, undocumented immigrants, and even just immigrants, just brown people in general. Listen to those words. And if you're already concerned and you're up in arms about what's happening in this country, and you hear Trump going, oh my gosh, murderers are coming, they're let loose in the country, then the next step of going to the doorway of violence, I keep saying it, Trump brings you to the doorway of violence, then that next step for you to take through the threshold to commit an act of violence isn't that far. It's a small step. It's a baby step, frankly, when you hear Trump's language here. Literally talking about statistics of undocumented immigrant crime. Now, the reality is, study after study, 2015 study I'm looking at right now, Libertarian Group found a percentage of their respective populations, there were 56% fewer criminal convictions of illegal immigrants than of native-born Americans. Another study in March, the Journal of Criminology, looked at populations that had higher percentage of undocumented immigrants. Did they have higher rates of crime? No, they did not. In fact, I wish our media, for every time they arrest someone, would put in the article, native-born criminal and Joe Smith, whatever their name is. And if they're undocumented, you could put that. And what you would see is that it almost never comes up. But native-born comes up every day. So if you read the statistic, you go, wow, that's terrible. In a vacuum, it sounds horrific. If you put it in context, you're like, wow, native-born Americans are committing far more crimes, killing far more people. 30 Americans will die today from gun violence. If any of those were killed by undocumented immigrants, we would know that by tomorrow morning because Donald Trump would be tweeting about it. But they're not. But when Donald Trump talks about these numbers, murder. And then he talks about the caravan. This is the last clip I'll play of him. Here's clip number 4. This is from El Paso. Last time he was there, just in February. Clip 4.
The number of illegal immigrants crossing our borders is so large that we've nowhere to hold them. We have to build. They want buildings. They want jails. They want these people. How about the word caravan? Caravan. I think that was one of mine, but it looked like a caravan. Where you have thousands and thousands of people coming from Guatemala, from Honduras and El Salvador, and they march up through Mexico. And by the way, if we didn't have walls in those areas, in some cases that we put up, in many cases where we reinforce, in many cases where our great military helped us with barbed wire, you would have people pouring in. They don't pour in. The problem is our laws are so bad that there's no way we can quickly remove them. Other countries say, get out of here. We have to bring them through a court system.
We can't quickly remove them. We have to go through a court system. They're murderers, they're killers, they're rapists. They're all over. They're pouring in. What are you going to do about it? Isn't that the message? What are you going to do about it? Look, I've painted this horrible picture for you, Donald Trump says. He's giving you all the crimes. They're pouring in. We can't keep them. Release them into society. Murder, killings, murder. We have to go through a trial. How unfair. What are you going to do about it? Well, at a rally last week and a half ago, someone in the crowd told them what they're going to do about it. Shoot them. And Donald Trump laughed it off. And here's the clip. And if you can't hear the shoot them, it's Jim Sciutto with Mark Lauder, who is a Trump campaign spokesman today. I can assure you the clip is Trump talking, and he goes, "What are we going to do about these people?" And someone yells out, "Shoot them." And Trump laughs it off. Here's clip number, we'll jump down to 6, please.
I'm going to play you the clip from the May 2019 rally, and then let's come back for a reaction. Have a listen.
How do you stop these people? You can't. There's no... That's only in the panhandle you can get away with that statement.
Yeah. That's the president. And I know that before that, the president said you can't do that, acknowledging it's illegal to illegally shoot people. The president of the United States there on a bully pulpit laughing when the crowd shouts out, "Shoot them." Is that an appropriate response from a sitting president?
I think when you show the entire context, which you just mentioned, Jim, when the president said we're not a country that uses weapons against people who are coming across our border illegally, and he's also dismissing that comment being shouted out by that person.
The president laughed. The president laughed.
He was dismissive of it.
Is that something a sitting president should do? He was laughing.
He was very dismissive.
I want to ask you another question.
He didn't say what Mark Lauder said. He didn't go, it was illegal to use guns against undocumented immigrants coming over the border. He didn't say that. He laughed. And then he said, maybe you can do that here in the Panhandle in Florida, joking about shooting. But you heard the crowd, the organic response of someone in the audience after hearing Donald Trump's ginning up fear and hatred and statistics and murder. Shoot them. That's the natural reaction. Now, how many are going to walk through that? And that's what I'm saying. He brings them to the doorstep of violence. They're yelling out, "Shoot him." He's laughing it off. "Oh, no, I didn't. That's plausible deniability. Not me." They're yelling, "Shoot him." How many are actually going to go out and shoot people? Obviously, a teeny percent. I don't know if it's, I can't quantify it. I don't want to. I don't want to be irresponsible here. But someone's going to. We saw this one. And guess what? The shooting on July 29th, I believe it was, in July 29th, the Gilroy Garlic Festival. Remember that shooting? 3 people dead, including 2 children. Well, the FBI announced today they're opening up a domestic terrorism investigation because, in their words, the gunman had been exploring violent ideologies when they looked at his target list, which they are saying included religious groups, political parties, and government locations. Don't know what that means. I don't know what religious groups. I don't know if it was Jews like the other white supremacists targeted. I don't know if it's Muslims. I have no idea what's going on, but I can tell you that guy had violent ideologies, and he did post something that was a white supremacist, a reference to a white supremacist book, Might Makes Right, and he posted that. So listen to the game they're playing. Listen to the game the right is playing. And here's one more clip, and then we'll come back. We have a lot of times for calls. Our first guest is not till 7:30 Eastern time, so it's a lot of you from now to then, because last night we didn't have a lot of time for calls. But I want to play, here's Hogan Gidley, deputy press spokesman. And on Fox News, they said, well, what are you saying? Those people were saying Trump's rhetoric is overheating people, and it's dangerous. And here's Hogan Gidley's intellectually dishonest answer. Clip number 5.
The culture he foments at his rallies leads to this kind of violence. How do you respond to that?
That is absolutely ridiculous. We do not blame, nor do we even dream of blaming Elizabeth Warren for the shooter in Ohio who wanted to vote for her. The supporter of Alexander Ocasio-Cortez, who carried out a terrorist attack trying to blow up a DHS ICE facility using her language of concentration camps. The Bernie Sanders supporter who shot up conservatives on a baseball field. And we don't blame Barack Obama for the deaths of Dallas police officers. That is ridiculous. We wouldn't dream of doing it.
Would it help if you were more careful with his language?
And ignore it on the Democrat side.
Would it help if everyone were more careful with their language?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that the president came forth on Monday and was very deliberate in what he wanted to say.
Now, clearly, the idea that the gunman in Dayton, he may or may not have been an Elizabeth Warren supporter, but let's assume he is for this conversation. Say he's a loves, and he's for Medicare for all, checks all the left-wing boxes. The difference between that shooter and the El Paso one and Donald Trump's language and Liz Warren's language is obviously, to all of us, night and day. There's no connection. You've got Liz Warren talking about Medicare for all, talking about multiculturalism, embracing everyone. The guy goes in Dayton to the bar. We don't know his exact reasons yet, but he also kills his sister, had already written a hit list in school at one point, and apparently a rape list. And now, if Liz Warren had been demonizing people who go to bars and saying they're destroying America, and people going to nightclubs are an invasion and they're committing crimes and they're raping people and murdering people, then you can make a fair comparison. You go like, well, you know what? As much as I hate it, there's something there, but there's not. Donald Trump's invasion language is very clear. Donald Trump demonizing. That's why I played the clips in El Paso, just from that one in February. Demonizing. You listen to the hatred he's building up. And for those Trump supporters who actually think that they're the same Liz Warren, that the guy likes Liz Warren, who's for Medicare for all and getting rid of college debt, if you think that's the same as Trump, there's nothing I can do. I can't give you critical thinking skills. And I'm not being elitist. I just can't. There's nothing I can do. You know, I'm fortunate. I have critical thinking skills. Progressives, we have that. It's not about education. You can have no education and you can have them if you understand your brain works the right way. But if you're going to let politics mislead you, because I really think that, to be blunt, I really honestly think Trump supporters see the difference. So they're letting politics mislead them. But if you really don't see the difference, there's nothing I can do. There's literally nothing I can say to you, nothing I can do. Not being mean, just being honest. I can't make you smarter. I can't do it. I wish I could. If we could all make you smarter, you would become progressives. You'd be on our side. And America would be so much more of a beautiful, embracing, welcoming country. Free health care. Climate change would be addressed. Women would get paid the same as men. Hate crimes would finally go down, maybe become non-existent. I would love that. So if you're open to becoming a progressive, I'd like to hear from you. For the others. But the rest, let's take a break. I want to hear from you. There's been a lot unpacked. A lot of people are on hold about Medicare for all because they heard Bernie's. We can gladly talk about that as well because Senator Sanders was on earlier in the show if you're joining us late. But let's take a break and come back. You're my guest for the next 45 minutes. 866-997-4748. Let's talk about a lot of the issues of today. Be right back. At this point, the question is not who connected to Donald Trump is a criminal. The question is anyone connected to Donald Trump who's not a criminal?
The Dean Obeidallah Show. Sirius XM Progress.